This is the first round of disc golf on my channel. We're here at South Fork Disc Golf Course in North Bend, Washington. This is my home course. I've played it quite a few times. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to give a tip on every hole that I've learned, in the 10 months I've been playing. So the first tip is be nice to yourself, especially if you're doing form changes and stuff like that, right? If you're on this channel, you're probably changing things about your form, right? Be kind to yourself when you're on the course. Like if you're changing something about your forehand or your backhand, right? Let yourself have some time to adapt to it, to change your angles, that kind of stuff. I recently just added a bunch of power to my forehand. If you check out my short from yesterday, I just broke 70 miles an hour. That means all of my forehands are going different distances, right? So today I'm gonna throw 2 off of every tee and just play from the better one. The rest of the shots will be 1 each. I'm doing that because 1, it's my first video, so I'm a little nervous. And 2, I think you guys are most interested in kind of my off the tee standstill game. So this is hole 1, it's about 200 feet. I used to throw a pyro on it, but since my power kind of upgraded a bit, I think I'm gonna try to throw a Berg X. So we'll throw the Berg X first shot, little bit of hyzer, kind of leave it out there, let it pop up. See if we can just flick this out there. Not enough hyzer and too high. Then we're gonna go with our old shot, the pyro, just a little bit of hyzer, put it down there kind of low to the ground so it can skip if it needs to. Just get it up there by the basket so we don't overshoot it. Yep, fade, fade, fade. That's the problem with the pyro when I add power to my forehand. It's all right, I think we got a putt. All right, so as you can see, Berg's about a 20-footer. And the pyro might be a little bit closer, kind of uphill, obstructed. I'll probably just take the Berg and see how the putt's feeling today. It's kind of low ceiling. Maybe I should have took the pyro. We're gonna go for it anyways. Oh, through the branch, hit the chains. We're gonna take a par on hole 1. That's all right. Hole 2, 435 feet. You can see the basket here. It's a pretty hard shot. I think this is the hardest hole in the course. I've only birdied it maybe like 4 or 5 times. It's low ceiling, and you gotta choose either a forehand out to the left that skips back or a backhand that fades just before this group of trees. We're gonna throw something stable. Let's try this spell. And we're just gonna rip it on just a little bit of hyzer and hope we can get through this gap and fade before those trees. A par on this hole is completely fine.
Yo, it's me in editing here. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I'm kind of judging whether I should or shouldn't buy a pretty high quality camera for this kind of content. So yeah, having some more subs based on this would definitely point me in the direction that it's a good idea and people do like this kind of stuff. Thanks, peace.
Skip. All right, that's completely fine. Second shot, we're gonna throw this prototype. See how she goes. A little bit less hyzer, just throw it hard. Nice skip, nice fade, re-skip. Okay, I think those are right on top of each other. That's kind of what I go for on this hole. In order to get to the basket, you have to throw something flippy, kind of pop it up, but it has to fade right before those trees. So, my tip for hole 2 is check the wind, okay? I've a million times turned something over because I didn't know there's a headwind. When you come to a hole, right, this feels like a left to right slight headwind. You need to check that, figure out what it's gonna do to your disc, and change the disc if you need to. All right, so you can see they're both, 100 feet from the basket. Both pretty good shots, just need a little bit more power on them, to be honest with you. We're gonna just chip a little forehand up there. This putt is very hard. This is a raised basket and it'll roll off both sides. So we just need to get really close with this. So nice little chip forehand, fade. All right, we should have a straight shot on with the basket. We did throw that too far. Touch, that is Probably my #1 issue right now. So we just need to get a little bit more of a pop on that forehand without using so much legs. All right, looks like we got the sun peeking out. That's nice. Hopefully it comes out all the way. We're not even gonna play the flip today. We're just gonna tap this in. Hopefully we don't miss and roll down the other side. Good. Par on hole 2 is great. This is an easy hole to accidentally bogey, especially if you do like I did, kind of overshoot the basket on your upshot, which I tend to do a lot. All right, this is hole 3. I think it's about 250 feet. I'm gonna try out the forehand again. Okay, the tip for this hole is check your ego. Just straight up, check the ego, man. I am just as bad at this as everyone else. So what I want to do is in this video, right, if you watch this whole video and you see something, a disc choice, I don't read the wind when I'm supposed to, I play the wrong shot shape, right, I make the course harder than I need to for myself, even my form breaks down on some holes, comment about it, right? I'm trying to learn just as much as you guys are trying to learn. So if I do something that you're like, oh, I could help this guy out, he's not throwing an easier shot, right? Comment about it. I'm gonna read these comments. I'm gonna try to get better. Okay, 250 feet, we're throwing the Gateway Warrior first. A little bit of hyzer, flip it up to flat. It needs to go pretty far before fading, but I think we can do it. That's really far before fading, holy shit. So this is that new forehand power I was telling you about. I'm still getting the angles down with the added power. Our second shot's gonna be a Tesla. Same thing, forehand, put it on quite a bit more hyzer. Just kind of hopefully park it. This is my old shot for this basket. Stay up. Yep. All right, it's pretty good. Let's see what we got for a putt. All right, you can see the Warrior up over here. Warrior's about a 25, 30 footer. Tesla's about a 15 footer maybe. We're gonna take the Tesla. No flipsies. Just gonna flick this one in, a little straddle out. Take the birdie. -1 through 3. Not the best, honestly. You should be birdieing 1 every single time. I think it's me being a bit nervous, to be honest with you. But let's get to hole 4. All right. This is hole 4. It's 225 feet. It's a triple Mando. You have to go under the flag, left of this tree, and right of this pole. If you miss the Mando, you have to go to the drop zone, okay? This is the kind of shot I struggle with. So my next tip is don't disc up too much, okay? You know how far you throw each of these discs, okay? So for a shot like this, I know I can hit this with any speed, okay? So I'm gonna use a disc that has the least right to left movement that I can, so I can just throw with my normal stock throw, right? And have it land at there 225 feet. The Berg X, right? If I rip it full power, it's gonna go about 275, 300. But if I put a little hyzer on it, right? And just do a nice smooth throw, but still committed, right? We're gonna be right up there near the basket, hopefully. So don't disc up too far and then power down. You're gonna get good at your stock throw. So use that as much as you can and change the disc so that your stock throw handles the shot. We're gonna aim right at this tree on just a little bit of hyzer, not too much power. Skip. Yeah, we're chilling, okay? That was just a nice, smooth, no brace, just let myself flow through, okay? This one we're gonna throw a little bit harder right at that tree, kind of flat. It's pretty stable, so. Nice smooth, okay? She skipped up by that tree. Should be good, they both have a putt. All right, we have a putt on both of them. 2 great shots on this hole, easily made the Mando. This is something I usually struggle with, powering down and precision. So I'm pretty stoked about how this shot went. Yeah. Easy birdie. Puts us at 2 down. We're gonna putt from this double hawk just to get a little putting practice in. Okay, a little nose downer there. All right, on to hole 5. All right, this is hole 5. I think it's 430 feet. You can see it there under the tree. It's kind of hard because you need to go around this kind of guardian tree, so it takes about 460, 475 feet of power. Yeah, so it's pretty easy for power throwers, but a lot harder for people who don't, because they kind of have to hyzer flip something up the middle. My tip for this hole is, don't mess with your form mid-round, okay? What I like to do is figure out what my form is like for the day, right, during my warm-up. Sometimes you're throwing harder, sometimes you're throwing softer, sometimes you're pulling a little to the right, sometimes you're dead on, right? Figure out what your form is and pick your shots based on how your form is for that day. If you want to play well in that round, right? There's obviously times when you're going to want to play practice rounds where you're working on things, but when you're actually trying to score good, right? Don't worry about your form too much. Just play with what you have, adapt to what you have, and like do the best you can for that day. Boom, we're here. We're just gonna throw a nice hyzer. See if we can get up there. Don't hit the tree. Not the best shot. A little too much hyzer on that. Probably with this disc, we'll throw the same shot. A little wet, hope it doesn't slip out of the hand. Same amount of hyzer as that last one. Should flip up quite a bit more. Slipped a little bit on the tee pad there. I think they're in, oh, she skipped way out of Narnia. So, yeah, I think I might have underestimated the tee pad being kind of wet and just threw them on too much hyzer when I wasn't able to get enough power. So you can see the realm up here. He got a pretty hardcore flare skip. And then you can see the spell right here. They're both a diamond. I do have a putt, but it's a pretty hard one. Low ceiling, kind of around a tree. We just want to put it close, give it like a soft bid maybe. These putters are also wet, so that sucks, but we'll do what we can. Maybe 40 feet. That's awful. Well, we laid it up okay. Twice. You just tap these bad boys in. Actually, I'll just pick them up. Seems like maybe I'm not throwing that hard today. I did a lot of Tectus throws. I'll put that up here, my session from yesterday. And I also recorded that fieldwork video. So I probably threw 300 throws, pretty high power, relaxed, right? But it still takes a toll on your body. All right, this is hole 6. It's basically either a turnover backhand that kind of fades to flat or a hyzer forehand. It seems like we're not throwing super hard today, but we're gonna do what we can with what we got. And my tip for this hole is gonna be get a forehand, right? Even if it's just a little chip forehand, okay? The ability to come in from one side when you have like a slanted green and just stick, or, you know, match the grade of the hill so you kind of slide a little bit and don't have a chance of rolling, is ridiculously big, right? Just a little baby forehand will save you so many strokes. In my opinion, it's also a little easier to have touch with. I don't have as good kind of backhand touch as I do just kind of like locking my legs out and just popping it. So that's hole 6's tip. We're gonna throw the new Warrior first. The goal is to get up in that little batch of trees. The basket is right here in the middle of them. You have this kind of blocking fence, so you kind of have to go to the left side. We're just kind of gonna rip this on a baby hyzer, just like that the last forehand we did with it, where it pops up to flat and glides for a long time. That's the goal. Oh, it's bad. It's so bad. All right, let's throw the Tesla. This is the normal shot on this hole. A little easier, just kind of flat. That is parked. Not the best shot, honestly. Faded way too much, but that's life. All right, real quick, we'll tap this one in. I'm not trying to say I can shoot anything at this course, right? Obviously, we're playing 2 off every tee. So whatever we score doesn't really matter. Main purpose for today is kind of get the forehand back to where it was, where we have a good disc choice, where we're not kind of shanking them high. You know, working on my power forehand, it's a little bit different of a follow through than kind of the old standstill I used to do. So I kind of need some time, right, to match things up, sync things up, and figure out exactly how much power and hyzer to put on everything. All right. So look how beautiful it's getting out here. Oh my gosh, the course to myself. It's so pretty out. Super like happy to be out here just playing. This is hole 7. Pretty sure it is 350-ish feet, right? But you have this row of trees and the basket's about 50 feet to the left of this row. So my tip for this hole is pick your shot shape, right? Based on what's a good miss, right? So for this hole, right, getting through the tree line is tough no matter what you do. The best thing you can kind of do is go past all the trees and then fade in right at the end, but it's pretty hard to hit that gap and have it fade right through that gap. So instead of trying to get through anywhere up here, what we want to do is just throw a shot that we know will go straight for a long time, right? So the worst we could take is a par. If we can at least get pin high, the upshot's, you know, 60 feet, we just toss it up there or jump putt it up there. So we're gonna throw, I usually throw a mid-range on this, but I don't think I'm throwing very hard today. Actually, I'm gonna start with the mid-range anyways, just for funsies. And we're just gonna rib it flat and try to get it to go as far straight as we can before it fades. That is the Gateway Warrior. It's a 5-speed, I think it's 5502. And you see that? We hit that guardian tree, so we didn't get any skip. It's a pretty good shot. If we would have just missed that guardian tree, I think we would have skipped right up by the basket. But yeah, that's why we play as straight as we can before the fade, okay? So second shot, we're gonna play a volt, kind of low, right? We wanna come out to the right, so we get a hyzer coming back, but it has more time to get straight before it gets back to the tree line, okay? So we're gonna aim, there's a fence right here, so we really don't wanna hit that fence. But we're gonna aim kind of down to this tree right here to give it some time and just put it on this smidge of hyzer, okay? That's way too much hyzer. That was just a misrelease. Unfortunate. That's all right, we'll play the first shot. And that's kind of why we didn't want to play, right? Too much hyzer trying to get through the tree line. We want to get down there before we fade. All right, so you can see kind of what I was talking about here. If we would have just missed this tree, we would have skipped right up to the basket. But either way, we kind of gave ourselves a putt. It's a long one and there's branches in the way, so it's pretty unlikely we hit it. So what I'm gonna try to do with this putt, right, is treat it just like the shot. What's the miss, right? So I don't wanna throw this putt on hyzer, where if I miss, it'll roll down this hill and have a chance of rolling all the way back here, right? So I wanna throw this putt on a little bit of ante so that it's flat when it hits the ground and it'll sit down if I miss the putt, okay? So just completely flat out of the hand. We're gonna do a little Ezra Robinson, kind of foot behind the other foot, right? Sideways putt so we can put some ante on it. Perfect. So we take a par here. I think we're still 3 down, you know, with our rules. Yeah, let's get to the next hole. So this is hole 8. I think it's 360 feet, right? This big tree right here is a Mando right, and the basket, you can barely see it. It's right behind this big tree, right? So the tip for this hole is use elevation to help with your shot shape, okay? If we're not throwing that far, we don't need to throw that high, okay? Unless we're throwing like a spike hyzer. On that upshot I had a while ago, right, I could have kept that berg a lot lower and just trusted that it was gonna skip forward a little bit when it hit the ground at speed, okay? So here, we got some branches coming out, just kind of like the last hole. We have to get under these branches or we're not gonna have a putt, okay? I think there's a slight headwind here. So my two choices, I usually play a Warrior on this hole, but I think I'm gonna throw a Fireball here and just rip it as hard as I can dead flat. So we push past the Mando, fight the wind, and then play the skip up to the basket. Don't put hyzer on it, that's the key here. All right, blew over our brace a little bit so we could throw it on a nice flat angle. But you know what? Sometimes, right, it's okay to do that. The form doesn't have to be perfect for every shot, especially if it's not near the upper limits of how far you can throw. So here, you know, I just need to make sure I got it flat. So I was okay with kind of coming up a little bit and making sure I got the right angle and letting my kind of counterweight roll around me. We're gonna do the same thing with the Warrior, but we're gonna put a smidge of hyzer on it. I hope it holds up in the headwind. This is a rip for this Warrior, getting 350 feet up and, you know, like 40 feet to the left, 50 feet to the left. So we're gonna see how the power's feeling today and see if we can get there. Yeah, you can see it's kind of getting held up a bit, really floaty. Glad we went with the Fireball as the first shot. I think we're parked, so let's check it out. The Warrior was about 50 feet away. Never quite got the fade it needed, probably because the headwind just kind of held it back and also stopped it from fading. But the Fireball's parked. Should be an easy tap in. This is why you need a super stable disc in your bag, so you can trust that you can just rip it flat in wind and make sure you're gonna go straight for X amount of time and then always come left, okay? Moving on, I think we're 4 down now. So this is hole 9. We are at the end of the front 9. I think this is the last hole I'm gonna give any kind of tips on. And then I'll probably play the back 9 and maybe put it in a different video without tips or maybe voice over it, we'll see. But my tip for this hole is have fun, you know? It's not all about getting better. It's not all about throwing farther. It's not all about like putting so much pressure on yourself to perform every second, right? Sometimes you just want to see how far you can throw a mid-range. Sometimes you just want to see, you know, can I do this cool shot shape where it skips, flare skips to the basket, you know? So don't put too much pressure on yourself. You're never going to learn the limits of what you can do unless you try a bunch of stuff. So this hole, we're gonna throw the Warrior again. I've been really loving this disc. This one's a little bit more stable than the other one I have. So it's going a little bit more left. That should be good for this hole. I think this is about 345 feet or something like that. Straight through this gap, and then we go straight for a long time, fade at the end. There is a hazard bunker right to the left of the basket, and it's OB in that parking lot. So we really don't wanna turn something over. We don't wanna put much hyzer on this, because as I'm learning as we play this course, this Warrior is a bit more stable than my other one. So we just kind of want to rip it flat, try to keep our form good, see if we can get it there. Really punch that thing. Hopefully we get a good skip. All right, we ended up on the hill. I think I just kept that a little too low and like that way. This wind usually has a pretty bad like swirly wind on it. So I don't know if there's a headwind out there or what, but it didn't seem to fade as much as I expected it to. And it didn't seem to skip left as much as I kind of expected it to. Our second shot's gonna be a volt. We're gonna disc up, right? We're gonna throw kind of straight, more to the right so it has more time to fade and hopefully play the skip and don't land in the bunker. That's the goal. The biggest thing on this hole is don't land in the bunker. You cannot birdie if you land in the bunker. So you want to kind of play it shorter opposed to farther and more right opposed to more left. So all we're going to do is a little bit of hyzer, play the skip. Let's ace this. Let's go in the bunker if we don't ace. I tell you, yep, it's in the bunker. So that was too much hyzer. That's what we didn't want to do. Glad we threw the Warrior. So I have you guys sitting exactly where the Warrior is. As you can see, that's for sure a putt. That's kind of the play I would normally take to be safe and just hope it gets a little bit more of a flare skip toward the basket. But this volt's actually inbounds. The white OB line is actually drawn and I am well over it. So we get to take a putt, and it's not a death putt, and have a chance to save birdie here. Whew. It's just easy. Let's go, baby. So, you know, within our rules of 2 off the tee, I think that's 5 down for the front 9. Yeah, I think we played okay. We weren't throwing that well today, but especially because we missed the long hole, which is the easiest one for me to get. But we made some good decisions, kind of kept things solid, even though, you know, our putting is not as bad as it used to be, you know, at the end of last year. And yeah, I think for the back 9, I'll probably talk, but I won't give tips. And then, yeah, I'll see what you guys want. And if you want some music over it, I'll put some music over it. If you don't, if you want to hear me talk, we'll do that.